Hi, and welcome to another slideshow presentation by Principia Prep. My name is Ed Zamora. Today I'll be narrating today's slideshow. We're going to be going over appealing your college financial aid package. Now, if you have any questions or any concerns throughout the process, or you need help in any way in the college process itself, please reach out. We will provide you with a phone number and email at the end of the presentation. Myself and the members of the group here have many, many years of experience working through the admissions and financial aid process. So if you need help, we are here to assist. That being said, let's first talk about the guidelines, the rules, and the different aspects about what we're going to be talking about here today. Now, there will be times when doing an appeal makes sense, and other times when doing an appeal to the college for more assistance financial aid-wise does not make sense. We're going to discuss both ways to look at it, when it does make sense to go, when it doesn't make sense to go. We're also going to discuss the very basic terminology necessary to understand to make sure that your appeal is efficient, so that way you know what you're appealing, how to get it, where to get it, etc. We're also going to be discussing different resources to utilize, such as College Board, expected family contribution calculators, the net price calculators, etc. Once again, if you need help, please reach out. Our group is here to assist you. First, let's begin with the basics. The first thing you have to understand is financial aid itself before you're able to appeal. Now, we do have specific financial aid presentation slideshows here on our YouTube channel, which are a lot more in depth than this one will be on the financial aid process. If you are not versed in the world of financial aid and do not understand the terminologies in depth, please watch our other video specifically on financial aid, which talks about the terminology, the forms, the deadlines, the equations, etc. It will be very helpful in doing an appeal. That being said, there's 4 parts to financial aid. The 2 parts you'll be more than likely appealing will be the scholarship funding or the grant money. Now, when it comes to scholarships, you appeal that through the admissions office. When it comes to grant money, you appeal that through the financial aid office. Now, both scholarships and grants are free money you do not need to pay back, which help provide a discount to the cost of the university. Now, the difference between a scholarship and a grant, at least in my eyes, is very simple. A scholarship is typically guaranteed for 4 years. A grant is not guaranteed for 4 years. A grant is typically based on the family's financial ability to pay for college. So as your income goes up every year, and so do your assets, the grant can go down, and vice versa. If your income and assets go down every year, then the grant can actually go up, essentially. A scholarship is, in most cases, only dependent upon what the student has done in high school. Their GPA, their class standing, their class rigor, the amount or the scores they've gotten in SAT or ACT scores, etc. Now, when it comes to this entire financial aid process, there's also another part of this. We just discussed the admissions part of it as far as the scholarship money. There's also a need-based component. And to be able to understand the need-based component or how to obtain more grant money, you have to understand how this equation in front of you works. Now, there's 3 terms that we'll be dealing with when we're dealing with the grant money or appealing on a need basis. First, cost of attendance. Cost of attendance is what a school costs, everything included. I'll show you what goes into that in the next slide, but you need to know before you even start to appeal based on you wanting more grant money, what the school cost. Because without knowing what the school cost, you're appealing without a giant factor in the equation. Second thing you have to understand if you're appealing from a need-based perspective for grant money is, what is our family's expected family contribution? This is the number generated based on the financial aid forms that indicates to the college and yourself, this is the minimum you're able to pay towards college. The expected family contribution number does not mean this is all you're paying. Once again, if you're not versed in either one of these 2 items, please watch our financial aid presentation before you do an appeal. So what happens is, you first know what the cost of college is. You then subtract out your expected family contribution. That gives you what's left over is called a financial need. So now you have the number that the college says you're eligible for in financial assistance. So now that we know the college costs X, we can pay Y, we now have the equation figured out of what's left over that the college should help us with. So let's just give it a quick equation. If the college costs $50,000 and you fill out all the financial aid forms and they say you can pay $10,000, that's your expected family contribution. Your leftover amount or your financial need, what the college should be helping you with, is $40,000 of assistance. That means, as far as grant monies or loans or work programs or scholarships, you can be eligible for up to $40,000 of aid. So if the college hasn't given you enough, you can appeal based on financial need. Now, that being said, let's discuss what goes into the cost of attendance. And the reason I have a slide just on cost of attendance is because you're going to notice when you start looking at the college's costs, some schools are going to give you a partial cost. Other schools will tell you their exact or up to a good estimate of their cost of attendance. This is a very important process to understand. And once again, we cover this in the financial aid presentation, but I'm going to go over it just so you understand a little bit of why it's so important you have the right cost factor. Now, when you're dealing with most colleges, they'll provide you with a tuition, fees, and room and board cost. That, however, is not the cost of attendance. The first thing you have to make sure is contact the school's admissions office and make sure you're working with the right cost of attendance. You can ask them right over the phone, can you please provide me with next academic year's cost of attendance, or at least where to find it on your website? If they cannot provide that number, then you go here to College Board. On the top right, there's a search bar. On the search bar, you can type in any school's name. What will happen is after you pull up that school's profile, it will give you an opportunity to pull up their financial section, which shows you a breakdown of the college's tuition, room and board, book costs, transportation costs, etc. This allows you to have a better idea of what the school's cost of attendance number is. Now, when you're appealing based on financial need, you're trying to achieve one of two things. Either you're looking to lower your expected family contribution, which we'll explain how to do that in a couple of slides down the road here. So you're looking to lower what they expect you to pay, or you're looking to increase the college cost on paper. You're not looking to increase it that you're paying more. You're just looking to increase it on paper. You understand what these two things mean in a moment. So essentially, your goal is always to either show you can pay less or show the college they technically cost more to expand your need basis. Your goal is to expand the need you have in their eyes, whether you're paying more or not, because the more you expand the need, the more space you have for them to provide you with financial assistance, i.e. more grant money. This is why it's so important that you know what you're doing. Now, if you filled out the forms and you're not sure if your expected family contribution number is correct based on the financial aid forms, or if things have changed, maybe a job loss or a divorce or loss of a family member or going from full-time work to part-time work, then the next thing you need to do is on College Board, they have what's known as a expected family calculator. It allows you to play around with the numbers and see how much of an adjustment your expected family contribution number should go down to based on these different factors. On College Board, you also have what's known for many colleges, a net price calculator. Now, the benefit of a net price calculator over the expected family calculator is very easy to understand. The expected family calculator is a broad number. So whatever that number says, the expected family calculator, that's the number every school is looking at as a basis as what you can pay or not pay. So it's kind of an easier rough draft number to utilize. The benefit of the net price calculator is it's school specific, which means you plug in your financial information into a college's specific net price calculator, and they will provide you with what they can provide you in grants and scholarships, etc., based on their financial generosity. What you'll notice throughout this process as you're doing financial aid or you're looking at your award letters, every college's financial aid award letter is different because each college generally will provide you aid based on different metrics. So it's very good if you're looking to appeal. One of the first things, specifically if you're looking to appeal on either the scholarship or the grant money, is to do the college's net price calculator. We've already done one here for you to illustrate why it's so important. Here, is the financial components of the net price calculator for Harvard. Now, if you want to, you can either go on a College Board to look up the school's net price calculator, or you can just Google the name of the school and the term net price calculator, and you'll be able to fill out their form. Now, we did Harvard's net price calculator. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes, so it's very simple, very easy. Also, your financial information does not go anywhere. We utilized Harvard because it's a school everyone recognizes, and it's also very generous. Our components that we entered into the college calculator, the net price calculator for Harvard were, we utilized a family of 4 with 1 student going off to college, the parents making an income of $100,000, with them having $50,000 outside of retirement. Now, you'll understand what the differences are between retirement and non-retirement assets. If you don't, please, once again, watch our YouTube video about financial aid. We go into the differences of what the schools do and do not count as far as asset requirements, which is very important to know if you're looking to do an appeal. Now, based on this financial situation, Harvard, all their costs together, as you can see, they have provided their cost of attendance, the books, transportation, everything on there. Harvard next year will cost $76,791. Based on our financial dynamics, our situation here of $100,000 in income, $50,000 in savings outside retirement, it's indicating they were eligible for just under $65,000 of funding. Now, the interesting thing is Harvard is estimated they were eligible for $65,000, just below that number, of scholarship funding. The reality is Harvard does not provide scholarships. They really mean grant money. That being said, if you look here, with this income and this amount in assets, Harvard is extremely generous. You're essentially looking at paying less than $12,000 out of pocket. So if you make this amount of money with this amount of assets, this is what you're looking at. So why is this so important? Well, you can use the same net price calculator for every college. And if you see, let's just assume you applied to Harvard and got in, and this was your scenario, and Harvard only gave you, let's say, $30,000 of grant money, then the first thing you need to do is contact Harvard's financial aid department and advise them that you would like to do a financial aid appeal, because obviously Harvard has not provided you enough funding. This same process can be done for every single college you're looking to appeal on the financial aid end as far as grant money is concerned. It's a great tool to utilize to see if the college has not provided you with what they should be providing you, because each college's net price calculator is utilizing their equation of figuring out the financial need of the family, as well as how much they should be providing you in grant money. So the net price calculator is a great tool to see, have they given us enough or not? Now, let's say we have the same scenario, but Harvard only gave us $63,000 or $62,000 in grant aid. That I would not appeal. It does not make sense. You have to have enough space just in case, you're going to understand why I say just in case in a moment, to make the appeal necessary or even worthwhile. Now, that being said, this is what I mean by not appealing if the space is so small. There's a few factors you want to consider in this process, specifically if you're looking to appeal red flags that will pop up in some cases and will lose you financial aid eligibility. And this is the way it works. Let's say you fill out all the financial aid forms and you indicated you're divorced or separated on all these forms, and you'll understand the difference between divorce, separated, and marriage as far as financial aid world is concerned if you watched the financial aid videos before. If you have not, please watch. The marital status of the family is extremely important in the financial aid process, especially during the appeal process. Now, when you're dealing with the appeal process, what you have to understand is this. When you first send in financial aid forms to the colleges, they typically are all calculated by computers, not human beings, which means the computers in some cases will let certain things slide, where a human being will look more in depth into your case and will not let things slide, such as if you indicated you're divorced or separated on the financial aid forms and you attempt to do a financial aid appeal based on grants, the need for financial assistance, they will ask you for one of the items, your tax returns. Now, if your tax returns indicate that you guys are married, or the worst is if your married but filing separate and you have the same address, that's a huge red flag. You could lose a lot of financial aid. You understand why you'd lose a lot of financial aid if you watch the other video. Once again, please, if you have not done so, please watch the video about financial aid, our presentation here on the YouTube channel, before you do the appeal if you do not understand what I'm talking about now. It's extremely important. Third thing, or another thing that pops up a lot, when you're filling out the financial aid forms, if you are divorced or separated, the financial aid forms will ask you if you're receiving child support. They will not ask you if you're receiving alimony, because alimony is already basically put into your taxes so they can see it anyways. Child support is not on the forms as far as your tax returns from previous years, so that way, in a weird way, it's kind of hidden. Now, if you forget or omit this, whether on purpose or not, and you do a financial aid appeal and they find out you are getting child support, what will happen is they're going to add that child support number onto your financial aid forms, and i.e., you're probably going to lose grant money. Household size is another big one. On the household size, they're going to ask how many people are in your household. Now, this is where it gets to be a little tricky. When it comes to certain financial aid forms, they're just going to ask you how many people in your household, like the FAFSA. The FAFSA is not going to ask how old everyone is, what their ages are, their birthdays, if they're going to college, not going to college. Not going to ask you anything if they're a sibling or grandparent, etc. It's just going to ask you how many people in the household. Now, if you fill out the financial aid forms and you indicate your household size is 6, and you have one student going off to college, and the computer doesn't say anything as far as asking for more documentation, then you're in good shape, because the more people you have in the household, the more financial aid assistance you're going to get. But if you do an appeal and they ask you to write down each person in the household, and you write down yourself, your spouse, one child, and 3 uncles, the school can come back and say, we're not counting your 3 uncles. Now what you've actually done is you've reduced your household size, which means you have less expenses on the financial aid forms, which means your expected family contribution goes up, which means you lose grant money. So once again, be careful. Another factor I see that happens all the time that families don't realize is if you downplayed your income as far as your interest or dividends by showing them a low number of assets on your financial aid forms, and if it goes through, you're fine. If it doesn't go through and you do an appeal, and on your financial aid forms, you had indicated, let's use an example, you have no checking, no savings, no investments whatsoever. So you put 0 across the board for your financial aid forms. And you do an appeal, and the financial aid office asks you, we need your tax returns. And on your tax returns, you show $1,000 of interest, $1,000 of interest, and $10,000 of capital gains. You're going to lose financial grant money, because now the financial aid officer is going to say, we want documentation of how much you have in the interest, how much you have in the dividends. We want to know the amounts that you have in these accounts, as well as they're going to look to see what you sold, which means you just went from having financial grant money to now possibly losing a large amount of it, if not all of it. Once again, be careful. Same thing happens for home values or rental properties. If you lower the values or you do not provide a value that makes sense, and it goes through, because once again, the machine is in the beginning, but then you do the appeal and you have a human being looking at it and it doesn't seem kosher to them or doesn't make sense, and they ask for more documentation, if they increase valuations, you will lose financial assistance. Also, other students in college, if you had indicated on the financial aid forms you have 2 students in school, as you will know from the previous presentations on financial aid, this is very beneficial. However, if the second student going off to school is going off to grad school, they technically do not count. So if this gets caught, unfortunately for you, your expected family contribution number will more than likely double, which will reduce, if not eliminate, any possibility for grant money, especially during an appeal. Once again, one other thing to also consider, forgot to mention this as well, never bring up the fact that your neighbor received X, Y, and Z. The admissions office is not going to increase your scholarship because the neighbor got more money, or the student that you presume has a lower SAT score or ACT score, or you think took less hard courses, or you assume is not viable enough for this scholarship. is not an appeal case. The worst appeals I've seen in this entire 20 years of doing this is you calling up the admissions office or financial aid office and indicating you know the finances of your neighbor or you know the academics of your neighbor and you want more. That is the worst way to start off an appeal. You're starting off on the wrong foot. I guarantee you're not going to get any progress with that way. Stick to your situation only. But once again, be careful. You can lose funding if you appeal the wrong way or with the wrong information. Now, that being said, now that we talked about how to generate or how to put together your financial consideration of can we appeal from a financial aid need-based perspective, and obviously the scholarship money, we're going to probably appeal that no matter what, because it's very unlikely you're going to lose scholarship money, by the way. It's almost impossible. How do we start the next phase? We have our numbers, we have the calculators, we figured out if we have need. Or we have scholarship money from this school, and we also have other offers from other schools. How do we start appealing? Well, now that you know the cost of the school, now that you know if you've gotten a scholarship or not, the next thing to look at is the school's award letter. The reason the award letter is very important is to provide you some insight into the college. And this is what I mean by insight. What you will see from some colleges' award letters is they will actually show you on there what's called a Parent Plus loan. Now, if your school has awarded you a Parent Plus loan on your award package, which you can see here on basically a rough draft, a fake award letter we have here on the screen, if you look down there, it says the parent loan or the plus loan is $9,440. What that is actually showing you, number one, is this is the remaining cost for next academic year for your student to attend our college. So that provides you with some insight about how much is left to help pay for the college, subtracting the aid they've already provided you. Now, you can also see on here, this student has received a work program, a work study program. One of the things I like to look for is, first, now that I have the cost of attendance, so I know the school's total cost, and I've subtracted out my expected family contribution from the need-based side for the grant money we're talking about here, I now know how much space I have available for grant money. One of the things you can look to appeal is you can go to the school and indicate we've not gotten enough money from your school based on the award letter I have here. We're looking to appeal for more grant money. Can you please either reduce the work study program and replace it with scholarship or grant money, or can we just take it all off and just give us more grant money? That's one idea to utilize in the appeal process. Now, when you're doing the appeal process, another consideration to look at is, let's focus specifically on the scholarship money. Now, the award letter is going to show you, another good thing about the award letter is, it's going to show you the grant money they're giving you and the scholarship money. Now, I just gave you a little basic appeal process to kind of throw into your wheelhouse. Let's talk about specifically how to appeal the scholarship. Now that we know the cost of attendance, we know how much scholarship money we're getting in grant money, so we have all the factors and we understand the terminology. First, when we're beginning to appeal the scholarship, you're always addressing the scholarship appeal to the admissions officer you've been dealing with the whole time. If you don't know that individual, please contact the admissions office and ask them for who your representative is. It's typically based on state. If that person is not available to do an admissions scholarship appeal, send the appeal to the person whose name is on the acceptance letter of the college. That's typically the director of admissions or somebody who's high enough that's in charge that can help you out with the appeal process to hopefully get you more. Now, another benefit of the net price calculators we didn't mention before, but I'll bring up now, a lot of the colleges that do offer scholarship money do also provide that information on their net price calculators. On the net price calculator for the college, it'll ask for the student's GPA and test scores. If you see based on the test scores and GPA your student has obtained that you should be getting a higher scholarship, that's a reason to appeal. You go back to the school's admissions office and indicate, here's your scholarship amount, and here, which you can do, it's a PDF, the net price calculator, print that out, send them both and say something to the extent of, you guys gave us a $10,000 scholarship, just give an example, but your net price calculator said, based on my academics, I should be getting a $12,000, $14,000, or $15,000 scholarship. Can you please make sure this is corrected? This is a great way to kind of get it out of the way quickly, get the appeal done, and it's easy and many times efficient enough that the admissions office maybe made an error in the way they were calculating things, or it's a great tool to utilize to say, we utilized this tool before, the net price calculator. We were really expecting this $13,000, $14,000, or $15,000 scholarship. We really need this to make it possible for us to send our student to your college. Another thing to utilize in that price calculator tool, if they do provide scholarship information, is increase the GPA and SAT score or ACT score one at a time. So if your student, let's use an example, has a 3.2 GPA and 1100 SAT score, I would see what would happen if you change the GPA to 3.3 or 3.5, see if the scholarship goes up. I would do the same thing on the SAT side. That's another reason or consideration to appeal based on your student already has the GPA or your student already has the SAT score, but it's just one factor that's limiting them from getting the higher amount. That's something I would definitely appeal. On top of those couple of factors to kind of consider when you're doing the appeal, a lot of people ask, does the tier level of the college matter? Now, for those who are wondering what tier means, it essentially means the higher or more difficult a school, the better the tier. So let's just give you an example. Harvard would be at the top of the tier. A Stanford, a Columbia, a Northwestern, those are very difficult schools to get into. As you go down as far as the ranking of the school, you get to lower tiers. Let's put it that way to make it easier for everyone to kind of understand. That being said, I always get asked, well, what if the school is not at the same level or tier that the other college I'm applying or trying to apply a scholarship appeal with as far as their award letter? So let's say school A, where your student really wants to go, has offered you a $10,000 scholarship. But school B, maybe not the same level as school A, has offered you, let's say, a $20,000 scholarship. Is this something you can use as an appeal? The answer is yes. Doesn't mean the school will take it, but you can use it as an appeal. What I generally tell families to do is go to the admissions office, and advise them, this is the school I want to go to. However, school B here has offered me a $20,000 scholarship. Can you match it? Is the first way you want to start this process in most cases. You want to start with, can you match it? Because you want to see, can they come up to that level? If they can't come up to that level, you can always go back and say, can we meet in the middle? You always want to start at a higher range typically. Not all the time, but generally speaking, you generally want to start off with a higher level. Now, the biggest part of advice I could give you throughout this whole process is be polite, be respectful. This is not a hard-nosed negotiation, toe-to-toe scenario. The person you're appealing through is typically going to a higher up. So the nicer you are to them, the more they're going to be willing to help you be on your side, essentially, which they are from the beginning, to give you more assistance. So look at it as basically asking a friend for help is the way you want to consider specifically the scholarship money as well as the grant money. Now, the grant money, there's a multitude of different ways you can appeal the grant money. Now, if you need help with either one, once again, please contact us. Our information is at the end of the presentation. First, let's begin with appealing the grant money. The first place you go is the financial aid office. Once again, scholarships appeal through admissions. Grant money appeal through the financial aid office. You appeal the financial aid award letter through typically the student's financial aid officer. So call the school's financial aid office, find out who the individual is, and ask them, we need to do a financial aid appeal. Who do we address it to? And what additional paperwork do you need? Because most appeals will require additional paperwork as well as a written statement indicating why you're appealing. Now, to do so, once again, you need to know what the school's cost of attendance is. You also need to know what they're expecting you to pay, and the leftover amount, you need to understand these components to be able to send a grant appeal in that will be effective. If you do not know these terms and do not understand this process, please, once again, watch our video, because sending random appeals to admissions or financial aid hardly if ever work. You need to make sure you're doing these properly. That being said, there's a couple ways you can appeal the grant money. Now, if there's a job loss or if there's a change in status, which I'll talk about in a moment, these are reasons, these are valid reasons. Another big reason is because the school hasn't given you enough money. Now, once again, if you know the cost of attendance, expected family contribution, and your need, you will know if you have need available for them to give you more money or not. When you're appealing, you can do a couple things. You can say to a college, you guys have given us $10,000 or $12,000 in grant money, while this other school here has given us $20,000, $25,000 in grant money. That is one tool you can utilize. Now, when you're doing that kind of appeal, you want to utilize the benefit to yourself by figuring out, number one, does it make more sense to appeal based on percentage or amount? Let me give you an example. Let's say the school costs $50,000 that you really want to go to, or your student does. So it costs $50,000, and they've given you a $10,000 grant. So you're looking at, they basically have given you $10,000 in total aid as far as grant money, or essentially 20% off. So you understand you're looking at 20% off, basically $10,000 here. Same scenario. You're looking at the school you're looking to use as your appeal. Let's say they also cost, let's say they cost $40,000, but they've given you $20,000 as far as grant money. So it's double the $10,000 you have. However, from a percentage basis, the $40,000 school that's taken $20,000 off from grants has given you a 50% discount. You might want to consider, instead of appealing to the other college based on give us the 20 number, you may want to consider looking at it from the perspective of they gave us half off. Is there a way you can match that percentage? I've done thousands of appeals over 20 years. You're always looking for the best case scenario. So appealing and getting the extra 10, in many cases you might think you've won the game scenario, when in reality it may have been better if you'd asked them for a match based on percentage. This is why doing the math, understanding the terminology, and getting informed as much as knowledge you can in this makes sense, rather than just sending out random appeals, which I see happen all the time, and they hardly ever work. That being said, the least appreciated office in this entire process is the financial aid office. I guarantee if you are nice to them, if you are kind, it's a lot more helpful than going in there assuming you're going into a battle. It is not the way this works. Once again, when you're doing an appeal for grant money through the financial aid office, the financial aid officer you're working with is typically on your side, looking to go to a higher up and ask for additional monies based on certain factors. So your goal is to provide them with as much ammunition as possible in your case. Let's talk about other reasons to appeal grant money. Part two, if you have had a job loss or cut in wages or have gone from full-time work to part-time work, immediately call the financial aid office and ask them, what forms do you need? I've been let go. My job has not provided me full-time work anymore. There's a huge change income-wise. I need to do an appeal. You can do the same thing if your income is just dropped down based on other factors. A divorce, a separation, a loss of a spouse is another reason to go in there and immediately ask for additional consideration of your situation. Now, household size. Once again, we talked about the negative aspect of this. There's also a positive aspect of this. If you have a grandparent or uncle and aunt who maybe have lost their job as well, and they've come into their household, that is a net positive. You can ask them to look at this as we're taking shelter for other relatives that cannot take care of themselves, more cost, medical, food, etc. This can be used as an appeal process. If you've also had a one-time financial event, maybe you sold your home and are showing a capital gain, or an investment, or something has come in that's never going to come in again, make sure to contact the financial aid office and let them know. If you've lost benefits such as unemployment or Social Security or anything else that's been on there, or forced IRAs that are no longer being forced for you to take that increase your income, these are reasons to appeal. Drops in investments, specifically if the investments were used to live off of, or your inability to work based on the fact that something is happening in the world and you're not essential or not being allowed to work, or you're self-employed and cannot work for some reason. These are all reasons to ask for additional financial aid consideration. That all being said, once again, you want to be kind. You want to be essentially thankful to the financial aid office because, once again, both the admissions scholarship appeal for more scholarship funding and the financial aid appeal for more grant money based on any of these factors we talked about are all judgment calls, which means it's not a black or white scenario. There will be some colleges that will take your situation, your appeal, and give you more scholarships. There will be some that will give you nothing in addition, neither scholarships or grants. There will be some colleges, that will actually take away grant money. So once again, make sure to do the homework, take your time, do not rush through this. If you need help, please reach out. That being said, here are some of the different websites to utilize throughout this process. College Board is the #1 place you should be going for any of this information to start gathering stuff that you need to figure out, does it make sense to appeal or not, and how to make our appeal effective. If you're looking for additional financial aid assistance outside of the college's scholarships and grants, please utilize these two websites, FastWeb and FinAid. These are the two largest scholarship searches in the world, and they're free. And if you would like, please follow our Facebook page, Principia Prep. We do post very often different financial aid programs, scholarships, different things happening in the world of college. We also do post where we're going to be doing our financial aid presentations. We do about 80 to 90 high school presentations throughout the year. Once again, once we start doing presentations, hopefully again in the fall, if you follow our Facebook page, we do post on there where we are each week, what different high schools we'll be speaking at. That being said, we also have a newsletter. Our newsletter goes out every month, and it's grade level specific for seniors, for juniors, etc. If you want our newsletter, all you need to do is email us at our email address here on our contact slide. Just email us, let us know what year your student is in. The newsletter tells you exactly what you need to do every single month. Give us an email, just tell us what year your student is in, and we'll send you that email every month. Once again, my name is Ed Zamora from Principia Prep. Here's our website, our email contact, and our phone number. If you do need help throughout this process, please let us know. There are a lot of different processes available, or a lot of different things we do to help families out in this entire thing. So if you need help, we are here to assist you. Once again, thank you for watching our video.